as we move it to the outside, we're in good shape here. Jared Verse, obviously, there's a lot of stories like this, but I think he's the one that was the headliner, of course, in regards to, wow, we got this guy back. He could have gone and been a top NFL pick, but he's back.
Yep, he is back. The Verse is back, and if anybody, I know a lot of y'all listen to our Wednesday night shows that we do weekly, talking Florida State football practices. Whenever I'm there, I'll come and share a lot of things. But this time last year, before we were heading to spring camp, I'm pretty sure I talked very, very, very highly about Jared Verse, as he should have. I know you're coming from different kind of competition, Mark, but I was telling James agreed with me because he was able to see it there in person and the impact that he was taking during these practices, going against Florida State's best offensive tackles, and it looking pretty ridiculous. But Jared Verse coming back this year, I don't know how this is happening. I don't know what happened. I was not expecting this to be the case just off of the production and the rawness that I think a lot of NFL scouts would, and definitely GMs and coaches would love to be able to work with for the next couple of years. But he's going to go another year in college. And I think for him, there's still a lot to be worked on. And Coach Papuchis has talked about that too. Florida State's defensive end coach, also special teams. He's talked about that. There's a lot more that they need to work on. And I think Jared Verse acknowledges that. He likes Tallahassee a lot. So I don't think there was too much of having to talk into it. And then he add in NIL. This is how you bring back one of your best players on the team. I think him and Jordan Travis, Trey Benson are kind of in that realm, I would say, of being your top player coming back. And Jared Verse impacts the game. We saw it at LSU debut. I said, get ready for Jared Verse. And that guy delivered. And I can't tell you how excited I am because I really wanted to see him back fully healthy again. He went through and had that injury. I feel like almost half the team did over there, and Louisville still came away with a win. But Jared Verse makes a disgusting impact against opponents, and Florida State definitely, when you need them the most, going against some rivals. We know what he did against Miami, and you can just see. I think we're going to see a bigger leader breakout. I think he was kind of in his own being that way. He showed up. Not going to say he was a cocky guy, but he's a confident player, and that's something different that Florida State as a culture in this program hasn't seen in a while. And there was a lot of confidence built up, and it built up a lot of good competition and practices, Mark. And I just like that mentality. You've got to have that. This is Florida State. This isn't Louisville. Obviously this is not Duke. We're not over here playing game. This is Florida State. And as a defensive end, and you go back to some of the greats that came through Florida State, that's the kind of presence and leader I want to have on my team, where we're walking into practice. I'm talking trash to you. I'm getting a little chippy with you before we even get the pads on. That's just what Jared Verse brings. And this team needed a player like this, and they're going to have him for another season. I think it's going to be, it will be huge. And obviously, as you can see, I'm excited. I can't wait for Monday to see another season of Verse and what he's going to bring to this defense, Mark.
So, of course, Logan, he's going to draw attention. Yep. He's going to be able to beat double teams, but not all the time. So those other guys are going to have one-on-one matchups. And so who do you think may be able to complement him?
Well, there's a few of them. We know Derek McLendon. You kind of know what you're going to get out of McLendon. He's more of a thinner guy. Maybe a little bit more faster than Verse, but still some work to be done there. And he's coming back. He's got to come back for another season, and just a veteran guy. And I think there's going to be a battle here between McLendon, Patrick Payton, and Byron Turner. I think maybe Payton might have an edge over Byron Turner. Byron Turner, more of a raw product. We saw the improvement throughout the practices this last year. Didn't get to see a whole lot of playing time, was dealing with injuries, but Byron Turner Jr. is probably one to watch in that defensive end room to be able to compete, come in and get some playing times and compete with Derek McLendon. Pat Payton, still a guy that maybe is not the best on the outside, but is really good in the run game off the edge. I want to see that pass rush get better this spring. I've seen improvements year by year from him. I've seen him be able to put on size. I think he's got on some good weight now, but he's got to be better at his pass rush. And I think that's something that Coach Papuchis is going to work with him, Mark, this spring. So I'd keep an eye on those four players at the defensive end room. And then you've got some youngins coming in, specifically probably Lamont Green Jr., legacy player, one of the longest committed kids in the Florida State class. he's just got that natural get off, which is a complete opposite from Pat Payton. This kid is ridiculous. His dad has trained him. He's a guy that loves the weight room. He loves working out. Odell Higgins, I was at a camp this last summer and got to watch Lamont Green Jr. off the edge, going against some really good competition too, some current or now enrolled FSU offensive tackles. And Lamont Green Jr. zipped right by the offensive tackle, and Odell Higgins says, yeah, that kid's going to be good. And for Odell Higgins to say something like that, and from what he's been able to produce and show that he can get into the NFL, I think I'm going to agree with him on that end of things. Still got to put on some size, but it's just good to show that Florida State has got to build some younger talent at defensive end room. They got to continue doing that in the recruiting room.